What's up, guys? It's your host here, Spartanic Arts DXD, back with another high school DXD related video. And today we have What If Issei Left, part 13. And if at all possible we can hit 500 or 600 likes for this video, that'd be absolutely amazing. And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the blue button right next to the subscribe button, and I couldn't thank you enough. And I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about where I've been, but let's just say it was a canon event. And I'm suck it up, keep it pushing. I'm back now, sorta. I hope so. Still, you know, it is what it is, bro. I really don't want to get into it. But thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. I know a lot of people have been asking where I have been. I apologize. I'm not going to tell you. But seriously, yeah, no. It is what it is. So, yeah. You know, a lot of, obviously, like, I just left out of nowhere, and there really wasn't there is an explanation, and I just don't want to talk about it. So, we're going to move on, like everything else. I don't care anymore. I'm tired of caring, so I stopped caring. So, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's, part 13 is going to be lit, so let's go ahead and, thank my balance breakers. Aunt Lewis, Lachlan Yates, Jordan Patchow, Night Ammo, Reefeek135, Slow, The Black Dragon Emperor, Keep Saying 21, Undefined Truth, VR Wolf, XRX108, ZK2000, Shen Bigson, Chaotic Raven, Mazaku, Dr_MOG_ The Bomb, I know I pronounced that wrong, Grimfire Shot Gamer, Ryuga, Source Responder, Rob the King, and Zero Fusion. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. Seriously, I can't thank you enough, and ladies and gentlemen, I will be starting a Patreon to react to anime online, because unfortunately all the streaming services now, you cannot do that, and you can't do it with YouTube either. I'll just get copyrighted, so I'm going to be doing it on Patreon. I'm going to make it like really low prices, so you don't go over like $1 or something. So thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. Without any other further ado, let's go ahead and get into part 13. Alright, so starting where we left off, pretty much at the kind of the beginning of chapter 20, but we're a little bit into it at the same time. And we just got done with the Issei training a little bit. Now we're at the end of the week in the Gagar. So the fallen angel cadres, with the exception of Azazel and Pyeongmin, were preparing themselves for a meeting. Shariel, Armios, you're with me. Barkil, I want you to keep an eye out for the two rogues, along with you. Tamiel, I want you to keep Pyeongmin busy with keeping track of our business investments. I'm sure Barkil can handle Azazel alone. I can check out the anti-magic seals, and the Phoenix clan requested to see if they worked, Armos says, and I have equipped it to send at Juka's lab to remove Vitra, if he wants. However, I had to obtain an artificial sacred gear to replace Vitra and the boy, just in case. Wouldn't want him to die, Sarahil says. Yes, I believe Miss Sona wants to use the evil pieces as Issei as a means of trading the boy into the Cremerie Barrage. So it would be free up some pieces for Miss Sona to reincarnate some more potential people. I've seen to notice to Team Slashdog. They will meet with us and you can speak with your niece when we get back, Barkil. I understand. Suzaku was very disappointed, but I told her that she needs to keep her composure whenever she meets with the Genbu, and not to mention Volley either. Good. We don't want to raise anyone's suspicions until Sir Zex decides to do what he needs to do, Shamazi says. Well, we will wait for your return in the verdicts. Stepping back and heading to find Pyeongmin, he didn't care if he caught or eloping with Azazel. They needed to get their investments in order, and she was slacking on their duties anyways, Tamiel said. Shemazai, Armos, and Sarahil transported themselves to Sir Zek's castle to begin in the meeting and discuss what to not only do with the traitors, but also to have another case that involved the missing body of Rizavim. Now, we're in heaven in Michael's office. The angels were preparing to leave for the meeting. The only one not in attendance was Gabriel, who was in the room and her deck was standing by. So Irina is having doubts, is what you're saying, Dulio, Michael said. Yes, it's what she told Gabriel when she left a few days. She was invited to a location where the girls were, but I was able to track them. It seems that the Valkyrie spoke some words to her, which she confessed to Gabriel. It seems Griselda may get her wish, referring to his sister's queen that was standing in guard in front of Gabriel's door. It did take a while, but the system can be reset, Michael said. I cannot believe how low our sister fell, Raphael replied. It is my fault. I thought I could like our father. I allowed demons to pray. I allowed them to commit sin because of that feature that we were testing that was incomplete, Michael said. Don't take the burden all of yourself, Michael. We should have been aware, but we were too distracted handling repercussions from the war, Uriel says. But we are in agreement. Gabriel will be banished from heaven, as will my ace, Issei Hyoudou. As a result, Gabriel will become a fallen, whereas Irina will revert to a human again. Her parents did request that she brought back home, and they cut off contact with the Hyoudou as well. They also accepted the request from Griselda of taking in Gabriel as well. It sounds reasonable. What of the Rondel and the Excalibur user? Raphael says, Excalibur, I'll leave it to the fate of Arthur Pentadragon and the Pentadragon family. As for Durandal, it chose her for a reason, so we'll let the weapon decide, Michael says. What of Hartsaliti, your weapon's ace? Rio says, she's no longer pure of heart in her infidelity, so it's useless in her hands. It will be brought back to her family, as was the Toji, her father that gave it to her. The other seraphs nodded, but Raphael could not help but laugh a little. It feels like a slap on the wrist, even though it may be like that in the long term, Raphael says. Yes, it seems that a blessing that Orpheus bestowed onto my ace is paying off and increasing her luck. Forgive me if I am being too benevolent. I am just honoring Griselda's last wish, Michael said. No, Michael, I would have done the same thing. We all care for Gabriel, but her naivety is the problem, along with your ace, if what Griselda says is true, Raphael said. Raphael, I'd like to stay and keep track of the system, make sure it's still working in preparation for the restart. Uriel, you are with me, Dulio. We will be taking Lint with us, so please get her. So we may go. The rest of you are dismissed. We will inform of the outcome of this meeting. I fear there is something else at play and we must be ready, as everyone begins to shuffle outside except Uriel. This is going to be interesting, letting out a sigh, as he flickered a purple flame over his finger. Now we're in the underworld in Sir Zex's castle. The Mao in charge was walking towards the meeting room, besides him with a silver-haired wife and queen, Grafia Lucifich. Has everyone showed up? Sir Zex says. Yes, Grafia replied. Everyone is accounted for. Are you sure of your decision? I am. After talking with the Juka, this is the best decision I can do. For her, and keep in mind, she did this to herself, so she must accept the consequences of her actions, Grafia said. The two stopped in front of the meeting room, where Grafia looked at her husband. I know you blame yourself, like the rest of your family, for spoiling her. Thus her ego became too much to bear. I understand your intentions, and frankly, I do not mind her embarrassed in front of the supernatural world of what she did to my younger brother, Grafia said. Our younger brother, Sir Zex corrected her. Yes. Well, let's get this over with, shall we? Grafia said. Sir Zex nodded and pushed open the doors to enter the meeting room, whereas the leaders were present, along with a few subordinates. Hence, extra chairs were brought in. From the Hindu faction, there was handsome young men with blue and black hair with black eyes that possessed bottomless divinity and limitless superiority. This was Shiva, the god of destruction. Sir Zex remembered that Visha and Burma, two gods also ranked in the top 10, sealed themselves with the Trihexa, watching over the seal from the inside. He remembered their pleas of telling Shiva to protect the world as they along with their gods, handled the beast. Shiva sat calmly waiting for the meeting to start, but he had sensed Sir Zex's presence. Looking towards the Greek faction, Sir Zex could see that Zeus and Hades appeared, as their brother Poseidon was another god that sealed himself with the beast. Zeus would have joined him, but Poseidon told him that someone needed to keep an eye on Hades and his actions in the war, for example, allowing Keokeo and his team to use Samiel. From the Nordic faction, Odin made his appearance. He remembered the smile on Odin's face when hearing of how Issei and Seraphal got together. It helped get his mind off his sons. Thor and Bladar, who were also sealed, he noticed that Odin did not come alone. First was Gontul, whom recognized, but he was with another woman with pink hair and ice blue eyes, and in Valkyrie armor of some sort. So Zex assumed that she was his new bodyguard, since Rosvisa was reincarnated as a demon now. From the Egyptian faction, only 18 the sun god came in attendance. The vampires that came were Valerie Tempest and Alidahidi. From the yokai, Yakuza was there, but not with her daughter. She came with a Nekomata that had 7 tails. Its color and her fur was white with black spots with an old man and had the ground-shaped head in Sun Wukong. From the fallen angels, he saw Shimazi with Sarheel speaking to a Juka, and Armos, who was talking with the Phoenix clan. From the angels, there was Michael with his Joker, Dulio, and his brother, Uriel. They also brought a girl with black and white hair and red eyes, wore a robe what he presumed was her battle garments, and from her holy aura, deduced that she was also a reincarnated angel, possibly on guard for Uriel. From the demons were the Maus, of course, with Volvium still sleeping, and Seraphal had her walker nearby. He knew she did not want to leave the embarrassment of coming to this meeting in a wheelchair. Surprisingly, she was talking to Klaus Paimon. He knew that Klaus was interested in the Mao, but they seemed to be talking as friends. He remembered that none of the Maos had any of their pieces besides Ddraig, who had his queen and wife, sacrificing themselves to join in, sealing of the Trihexa, along with other armies that joined in, helping with the sealing. It was one of the few times that Ddraig felt powerless. After the leaders, there was what was left of the Team DXD, having Sour in his Parage, Riser in his Parage, of course. They hid Ravel from everyone else's presence. He figured Riser wanted to see her at the trial of the Genshin Saji and see what she caused. There was Sekiryuutei and her queen, Olivian, and Zemi Dragon. Someone in her Parage were there, but not with Saji, believing he was being held elsewhere so as not to hear what would transpire during this meeting. Team Slashdog was also there, and they were talking with what was left of the volley team, which was Arthur and Byoko. Accompanying them was with a woman with black hair that went to her shoulders and golden eyes. The Ashtroth Harris and Glacida Levius Harris was also in attendance as requested by their relatives, those being Ajuka and Falbium respectively. They stood near their Mao redolents and conversed with one another. The Ashtroth Harris was a head taller than Glistrid or Labios Harris, and had a fuller figure compared to her petty frame. Despite her petty frame, her breast size was comparable to Ravel's or bigger, while the Ashtroth's hair size was comparable to her cousin, Sikavira. The Ashtroth Harris had blonde hair with blue tips, while the Glacial Labras Harris had silver hair. Their names were Lady Ashtroth and Asuka Glaeus Labois. Off to the side, the meeting room was KO and his team. Although they were part of Team DXD, they were reserved and kept to themselves. They were the other beings that conversed with themselves, which was Tanin. He was human-sized, but still in his dragon form, and Fafnir was in his human form. Thank you all for attending, Ddraig says. I'm sure that you are all still healing from the war and growing your factions back to prosperity, but there is some news that I would like to discuss, as he took his seat in meeting table with Graphia standing beside him. And what is this news? Zeus says. It's about Rezavim, Ddraig said. He's dead. Aten said. Yes, I ripped him apart, took a mark from the leg. That bastard tasted horrible, Fafnir said. Yet his body was never found after that, Ajuka replied. Brother, did you find his soul? Are you still helping them? Turning to Hades, no. I remember, I looked for myself as Rezavim's soul. It never came to me, and you say that his body was never found. Well, not to keep any secrets. I was looking for Lilith, your ancestor, looking for the Maos. I received word that she was being kept by Apophysis, and sent by some of my reapers to collect her. However, when they got to the lab, there was nothing for them to find, but luckily for us, the lab was still active, Hades said. How does that help? Ddraig replies. It means that security measures were likely active as well, Shemazin said. Exactly. With security measures still running, the cameras were also running, and we got something quite interesting, producing a camera-like device on the mag circle. Why don't we have a look? Hades says. Activating the device, a hologram was projected, showing what looked to be an underground laboratory. They could see the two men wearing coats, or robes. One was blonde with a white lab coat, and the blood-stained wearing multi-sense spectacles. The other man had silver hair and wore a dark blue cloak over his figure. Fascinating, isn't she, Moru? They had a silver-haired man talk to the blonde. Yes, she is. I am amazed Rezavim kept her sustained for this long, Moro says. No, by the way, this Moro as he was not shown in chapter 17, just FYI. Indeed, something he did right, kept her preserved for us to use, even if he didn't want to. She will do well for the demons that you wish to create, Master, Moro says. Yes, but so will Rezavim. After all, he created that sacred gear canceller. We should use it to our advantage, develop it to new heights. Ah, I thought you were being sentimental, my lord, since he is your father, Moro says. The leaders were still shocked by this information. Was this Vali's uncle? They knew from the fallen angels is that Vali's father was killed by Rezavim, so he wondered if they had another child. Not in the slightest. He was just another step to my plan of invasion, after all. Who do you think tipped the fallen angel Shemazin about the Chaos Brigade? Ah, you wanted to see your father fail. And what of your son? Moro says. Folly. He's like all of us Lucifers. He will be arrogant and prideful. His ego will be built up thinking he won, acting all superior with his Longinus, and I will be there to rip it from under him. I see. This is why you faked your death, Lord Rezavim. It will definitely be a shock to him seeing you're alive, Moro said. Not just him, but the factions as well. Had it been not for me tipping them off, my father would have won, and I couldn't have that. There is one Lucifer that should succeed. It's going to be me, Razavin said. And I will be the one to see you succeed, Moro said, my lord. What should we do about the cameras, as well as preparing the transport of decaying body of Lilith? Leave them be. We need something for the factions to know of our presence, and by that time, they know who we are, and we would have left this place and would have gotten a head start over our experiments. Turning to the camera with an arrogant smile, Rezavin does. Well, she is already ready to be transported, Moro said. Good. Looking at Moro, before turning back to the camera, we'll be seeing you around, Rezavin said, as a transport circle took the two and the pod that held Lilith away. Hades shut off the device as the others looked stunned. They already dealt with one Lucifer, and now they had to deal with another one. Who has the jump on them? That's interesting, Hades said. He wanted us to see this while he was recovering. He was preparing himself. He wanted Rizavim to lose, Ajuka said. But there was a price, Shamaza said. As all heads turned towards him, our forces from the attack of the Trihexa have been weakened, and we don't know the extent of his forces. If they took Lilith's body and Rizavim's body, it's been a month and a half since the battle. They have an advantage, and they have been watching our war against Rizavim. They will know where to strike. It always has to be some demon with an ego too big for their own, Zeus says. I agree, but it seems that it's Lucifer's family that cannot stand each other, Atene says. I only hope that Indra does not ally with them, Shiva says. He is still preparing for the war with you, Shiva Donioden says. Correct. But I feel that there is more that is missing here. Tell us, Sir Zex, why isn't your sister and her Parage here, along with the celestial dragons? Considering that the Harakako is the enemy's descendant and the Sekiryuutei is supposed to be our pillar, this information is something that they should be aware of, Shiva says. You are right, which brings me to my next topic regarding the pillar of the factions, Issei Hyoudou. Or Issei, they just said Issei. Why don't you say his full name, Aten says. Because we are certain that he has denounced it, Seraphal replied. You see, a few weeks ago, Issei came to us, stating that he would be taking a leave of absence, Serzek says. Is that a code to go to bed with his harem? Zeus replied. Not in the slightest, as they are the cause of his leave, of his absence. While you may not believe me, but Rias Gremory and her Parage members, along with the ace of Michael, the daughter of the Phoenix clan, the female members of the Defiant Volley team, Chief Secretary of the Gregar, Pumine, and the Seraph Gabriel committed treason against the pillar, Issei, by an act of infidelity, Serzek says. The leaders who were not at the meeting that Issei held a few weeks ago looked shocked, as the others that were just hearing this for the first time. Surely this is some jest, Aten says. I wish it was, Aten Dono. I wish it was. You see, this is a meeting being held to discuss what to do with them, and not just them, but those that committed the act with the Harakako, the pawn of the Citri clan, the former Governor General of the Fallen Angels, and the Knight, and the Bishop of the Gremory Parage, Serzek says. His own friends. Well, I have betrayed this alliance. I have not betrayed those who I consider to be my allies. It seems that Rezavin was right. The White Dragon Emperor's ego has grown too big for his own head, Hades says. It is not like you to throw such accusations, Serzax, especially against your own sister, Zeus replied. As of this moment, she is not my sister, and I assure that I was not aware of her heinous acts until a few weeks ago, when Issei requested certain people to give his side of the story and shares memories for you to see, Serzax says. May we see them, Aten replied. Of course. Issei had us recorded the meeting, so you could all understand his leave of absence, as he produced the crystal that Michael and Shimazin used to show their subordinates, but I warn you, the Issei that you met on the battlefield is not the same as the Issei that we saw. Ajuka then activated the crystal and began to play the events of the secret meeting that Issei had held. All leaders begin to watch Issei's memories, for as though they have already seen it. They remain neutral, with the exception of some women, as they hated seeing Issei go through this. Other leaders, such as Hades and Shiva, also remain neutral and calm. The rest of the range of emotions from disgust, outrage, shock, and disappointment. So you're telling me that our pillar abandoned his post because of a bunch of whores? Is that correct? Aten says. Others turned to look at Serzax because they knew he was a Syscon. It wouldn't take lightly to someone insulting his sister. However, they saw was a passive face. Yes and no. He left because he needed to distance himself from to perform the ritual that would help him survive. If you saw, he was dying, Ddraig says. Regardless, he still had the look of defiance, staring into the face of death. Even when I met him for the first time, he had the same look as someone I knew from long ago, the former leader of my Shimigenis, Hades said. Don't tell me you're talking about him, brother, Seuss said. Yes, I am. I even noticed a similar power within the Red Dragon Emperor, and that power can only be passed down to him unless he is a part of the lineage, Hades said. Who are you referring to? Shamazu said. Former leader of the Shimigamis, Genshiro Shimizu Yamamoto, Hades said. Many leaders were shocked to hear that name, while some of the younger generations seemed confused. Are you telling me that there is a possibility that Issei-kun can be related to him? Odin said. The boy never ceases to amaze me, but you are correct, Hades said. In other matters, what was this ritual? Shivia said. If I may speak, Tanin says. Please do. You and Fafnir are the ones with the most experience regarding this ritual. I take it you have the proof that he survived the ritual, because considering that he is in phase 3 of the fall, I do not know that he was physically. Since you were at least last to see him, Tanin says. Yes, as he brought down his own pieces, he told us that he would send them to us when he completed the ritual, disassociating himself from them, Ajuka says. You would be correct. I can sense that one pawn piece holds the power of Orpheus inside of it, but it also does something else. By successfully completing the ritual, he has eradicated himself from their lives as well, Tanin says. Is this why they don't act like they remember him? Seraphal says, Sorry, Sona. It reported to me that the girls acted like they didn't remember him. You've seen it, Tanin says, turning towards Sona to speak. Yes, Rias came to my office asking for my pawn a week ago, but she did not seem to care about her own, or rather her former pawn, Sona says. Did you mention Issei at all to her? Tanin says. No, because we had this meeting yet. I did not want them to start looking for him earlier than expected, Sona says. Good. By eradicating themselves from their lives, they would not remember him unless something would trigger them to, Tanin says. So the mention of his name could cause them to remember him, Yakuza replied. Yes, something like that. Or something that relates to him. To them. For example, if you were to ask the Gremory Harris of how she saved herself from being married to Riser, it would trigger that memory, and thus she would remember Issei, Tanin says. Then how does that explain Rosvisa? Odin says. Excuse me? Tanin replied. My granddaughter. She spoke to me confessing about what she did and believes she was drugged and regrets not being able to confess to Issei, Gondil says. We asked Shimazin to look into the matter, Odin replied. From what you said, she did not have a concrete relationship with the boy like the others, so she still remembers him, as she did not confess to him, Tanin says. Regarding the matter, I had some scouts investigate Azazel's lab. We did find traces of astaphagma known as Spanish fly mixed in the wine. Shamazi says, We believe that she was targeted as an act of revenge on Issei-kun, Sarhil replied. Revenge? For what? Ddraig says. It was my sister, wasn't it? Looking at Shamiz. She was a part of the reason why Azazel fell from our father's grace. He could not have her, so he slept with a human instead to relieve his lust, but our father found out, Michael says. So you're saying that Azazel targeted her granddaughter because he could not be with your sister, Zeus says? Yes, because Gabriel confessed to Issei-kun, and that must have upset Azazel. So when Issei-kun was in a coma, he put his plan into action. I thought he was over his crush on her, Shamazi said. We all did. We all also did not think that Pyomen was drugged as well as Issei-kun was in a coma. She and Azazel became closer, likely seeking comfort in another as like demons. We fallen angels can be driven by our lust, Shariel says. But the seraph Gabriel also cheated on the boy, Etten said. I don't think he was aware of that. If he was, I would have gone after her and not Rosvisa, Shemazin says. I would like to apologize. Sharheel stood up, standing up and bowing to Odin and Gondil. I had been more insistent on working with Rosvisa. I could have protected her from Azazel's motives. For that, I apologize. As am I, Shemazin said, bowing to the Nordic leader. As leader, I should have paid more attention. Forgive me. It's fine. What's done is done, Odin says. I would like to have requested pardon for Gasper, Vali replied. Valerie, we discussed this, Elmenhilde. I know, but please, review the memories. At least he and Kiba showed some remorse about what they did, Valerie said. Then why didn't they tell anyone? At least the Valkyrie had the gall to communicate with her grandmother. Why didn't he seek you out? You seem close to him, 18 says. At this, Valerie was silent. She didn't know what to say, so she remained silent as the words were caught in her mouth. It's because of me that they did not say anything, Sekiryuutei said. Some leaders looked shocked by this development. How so? 18 says, intrigued by what the mouse said. Because I am a syscon, or was. If they mentioned something, I would have questioned Rias, and I would have believed her word over theirs. Had I not seen the video that a classmate had recorded of that incident that took place, Sekiryuutei said. Others took notice of how he said, Ritan, when speaking of his sister. I see. I suppose that answer will suffice, 18 said. Valerie looked at Sekiryuutei as if saying, thank you, to which Sekiryuutei nodded and the meeting carried on. Moving on. Tanin, you said if something were to trigger their memories to connect them to Issei, they would remember him, correct? Michael said. That is correct, Tanin replied. Dulio, could you please report your findings? Michael said. Yes, Michael-sama. After seeing the memories, I was tasked with following Gabriel around, watching over her. A couple weeks ago, she left for a secure spot with the other girls. I heard the Gamma Harris say that it was they trained for the raiding game against Riser Phoenix, Dulio said. Hearing that, Riser scoffed his teeth. While he did win that game, it was the battle after that ruined him, but made him a better person. Apparently, Michael-sama's ace, Irina Hyoudou, looked conflicted whenever she looked at her former battle partner, Zenobia Korta. She would talk to Gabriel about why Rafisa mentioned being childhood friends and wishing to never have met her. It seemed like this was a trigger for her, as she mentioned how she was alone. But a boy took a chance to play with her, and she vowed to be with the boy till the bitter end. She does not recall the name of the boy and acknowledges that if this boy would see her now, she would lose him for breaking her promise and telling Gabriel that she does not deserve to be an angel. She told Gabriel that they are doing something wrong, and asking for forgiveness for pulling her into this, and crying she shouldn't have listened to the others, and because both of them, to swerve away from their faith. Yakuza says, so Rosvisa may have triggered her memories unknowingly, and Rosvisa was exempt from forgetting about him because she didn't have established a relationship with him, so there is a chance that she could be with Issei. Tanin-san? Yakuza says, maybe as a kinship, but I don't know how much more than that. Not for her, possibly others as well, but it depends on the boy, Tanin says. So what do you suppose we do with them? Atin says, exile, Sekiryuutei says. All heads turn to him. While their achievements from the war may have served from their death, it's best to exile them with no compensation either, Sekiryuutei says. Why's that? Zeus replies. Because Issei-kun gave his money to them. I would say that was his last act of kindness, Sekiryuutei says. As he showed the recording of Issei speaking to him, Ajuka, Seraphal, the patriots of the Sea Tree, Gremory, and the Phoenix clan, and Odin. Yes and no. Sekiryuutei, while it may be his last act, it is also a smokescreen so that he can train in peace. Isn't that right, Seraphal? Smirking towards the Leviathan, who huffed in annoyance. She thought she was the only one who knew, forgetting about Ajuka's intelligence. You would be correct, Seraphal said, letting out a sigh and crossing her arms. You're Seraphal. You look different, Zeus says, turning his attention to the Leviathan. Indeed, no longer prancing around that magic girl outfit of yours, Hades said. Can we please get back to the topic at hand, Seraphal said, with a cold look in her eyes, and the room began to drop in tension. Calm down, Seraphal Dono. No need to get upset, Yakuza said, as she looked at the Mao, and with a smirk on her face. I forgot. She knows Imyokai senses, getting her teeth and bringing to the temperature back to normal, Seraphal does. Atin starts speaking. My, that is some power. But back to the topic. You say that the Sekiryuutei compensated them. No need for us to do so then, right? Atin says. That would be correct, Sekiryuutei replied. Then I am fine with expelling them from the supernatural world. However, what if we need them for when the new threats make some move? Atin says. Then we'll be waiting, unlike them. As the leader of DXD, we have been training. We could not stay idle for such a long time, Dulio says. Yes, I can feel your auras. The war has made you stronger, nodding to the team, Sun Wukong does. May I interject? It was the ground-sharp-head old man that came with Akasa. The Nekomanas may we take with them. I know many of you would oppose, but I made a promise to their mother to look after them. And who are you? Zeus says. Ah, yes, I am Nerfrian, the leader of the East Yokai faction, and this is Magari. Gesturing to the Nekomata beside him, she is the leader of the Nekomatas, and was a friend of their mother, Fujami. I feel like I have failed for not keeping her daughters out of trouble, Magari says. I don't want this to break up the alliance, but you exile them from your lands, as I will only take in the Nishishidus. That is it. That is fine by me, and I do agree. Exile is sufficient. I assume they would not be getting in an economic aid either then, Shiva says. That is correct. Only the money that Issei-kun has given them is all that they will receive. Then I have proof of them being exiled, Zeus says. In addition, upon exile, my associate, Aramos, has developed some anti-magic seals that would place on them to prevent them from rebelling against us. How intriguing. Do they work? Hades says. We supplied one to the Phoenix clan a week ago. They have no complications yet. When they applied it to the youngest child, Ravel Phoenix, Aramos said. Is this true? Emily turning to Riser, Elena did. Yes, she expressed her story catching the Vitra bear in bed with the nun. She stated that she felt a pull towards him, Riser said. Oh. Was it not her lust as a demon? Hades says. No, my sister is smarter than given to lust. At the time, Riser said. If I may interject, we went to Vitra to check if his bearer used dragon pheromones. To which he confirmed, but not only to her, but also a human girl that attends our school. If you saw from the memories of Issei, she is the one that accused him of stealing her underworld, Sona says. And you have both of them in custody, Atene says. We have Ravel in from the Phoenix Mansion for now. Considering that her sentence seems to be exile, she will be moved to the human world, Riser says. The Vitra Bear is hidden location in the human world that is guarded by the Citri clan. Could you bring him, please? There's something we'd like to ask of the prison dragon, Sarihill replied. Tsubaki, Loop, bring him. Keeping her eyes on the catch rate, as well as the two as she disappeared into the transport circle, Sona did. Are the rest of you in agreement for exile, Serzek says. It is fine by me, Yakuza replied. I agree, Elemental said. I am fine with it, Michael said. As am I, but in addition, we will need to confiscate any labs that Azazel may have been in the human world. His carelessness may give dividends to the enemy if we are not careful, Shimazu says. So do we all call them here to let them know their punishment? Aten says. No, I propose something that was brought to my attention, Serzek replied. And what is that? Zeus replies. A rating game for the whole supernatural world to see, Serzek replied. Ha! You want to humiliate your own sister. That is cold even for you, Serzek, Hades says. She needs to be taught a lesson. It is my fault that she acts like this, so I must rectify it, Serzek replied. Who would face her? Yakuza says. Why would it be none other than my cousin, Syra-Org? However, this would not be like before. Serzek replies. What do you mean? Syra-Org replied. Don't tell me, Ajuka says. Yes, it will be similar to what against Riser-kun. An all-out war. No dice rolling in Syra-Org. Don't end the game too quickly. I understand, Syra-Org replies. I presume when she is broken down that this is what you will inform them of their punishment. Kick them while they're down, Aten says. Yes, it will force them to remember Issei. When they realize that, they will know why their defeat is imminent. After which, we will interrogate Kibayuta and Gasper Validid on their actions. Migrant said, I trust that you can get close to Kuroka to place a seal on her and prevent her from escaping. Same with your sister, Arthur-kun, Serzek says. Yeah, that's fine, Marguerite says. I can handle appending my sister, Arthur replied. Good. And Shamazin, can you handle Azazel and Pyonmin? Serzek replied, yes. Our only issue is the Hirakako, Shamazin says. If I may speak, Byoko says, I have been tracking Volley. He's been with his silver-haired girl. She has a dragon mark. I saw it. They talked. He had no interest in the girls. He played with them to get a rise out of Issei so they could fight. I went to the Hyoudou household and saw that none of them had the Volley's mark like the girl did, Byoko says. It is likely. He gave himself to this silver-haired girl before sleeping with the Gamorrean and her female teammates, and chose not to mark them, considering that Vitra Carrier claimed to have slept with them as well. If the Harakako marked them, it means he wants them. But since there was no mark, your statement holds true. He had no interest in those girls, Tanin said. So he may not show up to the raiding game, Zeus replied. I can concur with this, because as I was listening into Gabriel's and Irina's conversation, I overheard Rhea state that Volley was not answering her text or calls. Same with the Barkill's daughter, Dulio said. And what about Orphis? She is another problem, Atin said. As if he summoned her, a dimensional gap opened and came out Orphis, but her hair was in a ponytail and her eyes were brown. Plus, her gothic lily outfit was a little more conservative. It caused everyone except a few small to get the guards up. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear, Ajuka says. What are you doing here, Orphis? This is a private meeting, Serzek says. The girl looked at him and blinked in confusion, and then she started to look around the place. Orphis, you gotta help me, a blonde stated. He looked beaten, disheveled, wet, and burn marks on him. A black eye was prominent on his face. Something Reiser smirked about seeing the blonde's condition as he ran towards Orphis. Loop, Sona says, causing the werewolf to go in actions. During the shock of Orphis' appearance, he had let go of Getru's Sanji, preparing to fight the Dragon of Infinity. Loop pounced on Sanji as he held him to the ground a few feet away from Orphis. Orphis, please help me. I need my help from my siblings, please, Sanji said. Orphis simply tilted her head in confusion and stared at him with her emotionless eyes. Lilith is not Orphis. Stop calling Lilith Orphis, Orphis says. These are on guard, let out a sigh. It was not Orphis, but her pawn, her spawn, Lilith, who was still looking around if searching for something. Where's Oni-chan? Lilith felt his pieces here. Lilith wants to play with Oni-chan, Lilith says. Nobody knew how to answer as it was unsure how to tell her what happened. Before they could do anything, Lilith started to walk towards Ajuka. She looked at him and turned towards what was in front of the seat, seeing the pieces. Those are Oni-chan's pieces. Tell Lilith why they are here. What did you do to Oni-chan? Lilith said. We did nothing. He removed them himself, said he needed to train, and he didn't want the pieces to hinder him, Serafal said. Lilith reached her hand out to the blue pawn piece, and it began to fly to her. Grabbing the piece, she closed her hand around and it closed her eyes. There was a slight blue glow from her closed hand when she opened it. Out dropped a clear pawn piece, devoid of any power. She turned her attention toward the Mao, and when she did, she caught a scent on her. Why do you smell like Oni-chan? Lilith said. As she walked up to the Leviathan, Bakared said that you only have someone's scent unless you mate with them. Did you mate with Lilith's Oni-chan? Lilith said. She absorbed Orphis' power, making it her own. Fascinating, Ajuka said. The others that did not know of this information were shocked, while the dragons laughed, except Olivian. Ha! I didn't want to say anything, but it looks like your secret is out, Tanin says. I thought the walker would raise some suspicions, Fafnir said. Serafal felt embarrassed, but there was nothing she could do now, so she let out a sigh and leaned back in the chair. This is unexpected, but congratulations, Zeus said. So that explains your change of attitude. I'm impressed, referring to her looks and change of outfit, which was a high-collared sleeveless purple dress with a gold trim that featured emblem on it. I showed off her curves and cleavage, Hades said. The Sekiryuutei seems to have made an upgrade to his bride. Congratulations, Atin said. My, how interesting this is. Looking towards the Leviathan. Indeed, we will have to talk about it later, Serafal says. Yakuza says. Moving forward, now that we are in agreement of exile on the traitors against the pillar of the factions, what should be done with them? Pointing down to Vitra's carrier, Serzek said. May I make a suggestion, Sona says. Since he, unfortunately, is my pawn, Sona said. And what looking down, she saw Lilith had sat in her lap. Since you smell like Oni-chan, it means he trusts you, so Lilith will trust you. Your lap is softer than Oni-chan's, that she could smell. It was like, Lilith said, reaching into her cleavage, she pulled out a piece of candy. Here you go, Serafal said. She gave it to the candy to Lilith, who took the sweet treat and savored it while listening to the conversation. What was your suggestion, Sona-san? Ajuka said. I'd like to propose a trade. He can be Rias' pawn now. I have some potential candidates that can fill his place. No, not her. Please, Catriel, don't let me join her. She'll ruin my siblings. Please, Sanji said as tears cascaded down his face. What happened to him? Serzek said. That would be the effect of my curse on him. Barely held up for a week before he succumbed to it. All that arrogance he had before is broken down, Vitra said. Vitra-san, we were wondering if you wanted to leave your carrier. Sekiryuutei says, really? You guys can do that, Vitra replied. Yes, after all, I assisted with implanting your remaining fragments into this boy. I brought it the necessary equipment to extract you as well. Well then, looks like I get my wish and you get yours. How about that? Vitra said. No, Vitra, please don't leave me. Help me. You asked for this. But look on the bright side. Your stigma will be removed from them when I leave you, Vitra said. What do you mean by that, Vitra-san? It's a mark of any girl that has with him, that's with another dragon. Any female that betrays a dragon with another dragon gets a stigma from a dragon that betrayed their partner with. The stigma appears when the dragon that was betrayed beats the dragon that took their partner, as we saw. Issei defeated him in school while under the effects of the fall, Tanin said. As a result, this punk was marked as a weaker dragon, which is the stigma that indicates to the female that they have a weak partner. Since this fool wanted to mark them all against my wishes, luckily he didn't sleep with all of them, but if any of those girls were pregnant, their children would be weak. But since I am being removed, the stigma will be removed as a weaker dragon has died, since he would not bear any semblance of the dragon with me gone, Vitra said. Shall we take them to your lab, Ajuka? Sekiryuutei says. Yes, Surpass, Ajuka said. Yes, but first, since we have no pillar, I suggest that someone needs to take Issei-kun's place, Surpass replies. How about it? How about the angel? Pointing at Dulio. Me? Why me? Dulio says. It's a good idea. You are the leader of the anti-terrorism team that was formed, so I second Shiva's decision. I agree as well, Odin says. It's not a problem for me, Yakuza replied. I trust in Yakuza's judgment. Norion said. I don't mind, Illibean said. I agree with it as well, Shamanson says. A wise choice, Ajuka replied. It seems that we are mostly in agreement. I would say so, Afton said. Shiva seems to always have proper judgment, Hades said. Michael-sama? Congratulations, Dulio. But what about, Dulio replied. Do not worry, Griselda can handle it. Dulio, do you accept the position? Surpass says. Yes, Surpass-sama, I accept. Then turned to his team, and I would not let you down as your leader, Dulio said. Then congratulations, Dulio, pillar of the factions, as the other leaders in Team DxD clapped at the announcement of the new pillar. And that is where we're going to stop for now. I have a Discord, by the way. It'll be linked. I just wanted to mention that really fast. Okay, this Discord, everybody can join it. Everybody can. You get notified when I upload, things like that, you know, crazy stuff like that. And you can talk to me whenever you want. All this stuff, you know, you can have communication with me, things like that. And I can communicate with my fans. It's a cool place to just come and have fun with me. And I will also be announcing this on Ampopowski as well. But yes, let me explain to you why the reason that I decided to make this me like watching anime on Patreon instead of like YouTube or something like that. It's because I just get copyrighted and both my channels will be banned and taken down. And nobody wants that, and I'm sure you guys don't want that either. So I'm going to have to make an executive decision and put it on Patreon. Now, I'm thinking I'll go with either like $3, $5, or $1 to just even, you get $1 to even join what's going on, $5 to have some special equipment, $10 to do this, and then 20 or 30 or 50 or something like that if you want like a bunch of like special privileges and etc. things like that. So thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate it. I have been fucked out of my mind. I can't lie. I went through something, and you know, I had a heartbreak, let's just put it that way. And so I was really messed up for a while, and I'm still kind of messed up. I won't lie to you. I really don't want to get into it. I don't know if this person's watching this video. I hope, praying they don't. I don't really want to talk to them. So once again, thank yous, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate all the support. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to become a channel member. It's the first link in the description, the first link on the premiere. I know there's at least 100 of you in here, so thank you so much for the support. Remember to hit that like button, and without any further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD.